everyone getting their snacks? Okay. Hi, everybody. Oh, hi, Linda. How are you? Thanks for coming today. We have Justn McDermot here from Touching Hearts at Home. He's going solo today, but he knows what he's doing, so he'll be all set. Yeah, Lissa Phillips couldn't make it today. She sends her apologies. So Justn is going to talk to us about blue zones, areas of the world where people live to a really, really old age. And he's going to tell us the secrets. And I think his snacks might have something to do with it. Maybe. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Justn.
Thanks, Deb. Appreciate it. First off, if you see people with the purple Touching Hearts bags, I have a bunch of them. So I can, if you didn't get one, I'll definitely maybe after the presentation give it to you guys. So my name is Justn McDermot. I'm the owner of Touching Hearts at Home. I own the company with my wife, Melissa. Last time I was here, it was actually for the holiday stroll, and you guys may have seen me in my Christmas Story bunny costume. That was me. I kept that at home today. I thought this was a little more appropriate. So yeah, I didn't write the book. Dan Buetner is the author of this book, but you can buy it, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, anything. So if you're really interested in this topic, there's a whole book on it. You're just going to get the Spark Notes or Cliff Notes version from me. I am by no means the expert on it, but I do find it really interesting, and it's a kind of a fun, lighthearted topic. So thank you all for coming. I know the holiday weekend, I wasn't sure what kind of turnout we get. So happy to see a packed house here. So one of the first things I'll do is just talk really quickly about our story, how Touching Hearts got started. This is not a sales pitch by me. It's just I'm going to do this, and then we'll get into blue zones. But that's my wife, Melissa. You may recognize her. She's the beautiful face of the company, and I'm just the messenger. But those are our two girls, Shay and Charlie. That's about a year ago. So now they're 3.5 and 2, and they don't stop moving ever unless they're sleeping. They don't stop moving. So those are our two dogs, Finley and Maverick. They're 7 and 6. So I just like people to know a little bit about us and that we're real people. But the woman on the right, that's kind of where my story with home care really starts. I grew up in Virginia. I lived there until 2005. My grandmother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And they live in Rochester. So my dad's side of the family, everyone was in Rochester, New York. Any upstate New Yorkers here? Really? Where? Schenectady. Okay. Very nice. So we moved up to Rochester. My three uncles, my aunts, my cousins, everyone lived up there, and except us, we were the outliers in Virginia. So we moved up to help take care of her. And the days she had treatment, she was really tired. So we were just kind of helping make meals and keep up with the housekeeping, the laundry, kind of just managing the household, because my grandfather, great guy, but couldn't really make a bowl of cereal. So definitely didn't know how to work the washer or the dryer. So as she was kind of going through that process, my dad we're very fortunate to have a lot of family nearby. Everyone's within 15, 20 minutes. Rochester's very small. And he was just thinking a lot of families don't have that. If people are an hour away or out of state or across the country. So that was kind of the initial thought of Touching Hearts, is we're lucky to have that. There's got to be a lot of people out there that don't. And eventually my grandmother, she did decline and went on to hospice. And throughout that process, that was kind of our first intro to home care. And there were some really amazing, compassionate people that helped take care of her. And there were a few that weren't so compassionate, or were kind of there to collect a paycheck, or would just come in and sit on a chair and wait to be asked to do everything. And so my dad really noticed this and wanted to find people that really wanted to do this work. Obviously, it is a job, but it, really wanted to be there, were really compassionate. And, then coupling that in with all the people that don't have local family. And so he decided to start Touching Hearts. And unfortunately, in 2009, my grandmother passed away. But, again, every single person we hire, every single day, and what we do, thinking about her. Every person I hire, would I want this person taking care of my grandmother? And that's kind of the final interview question in my head that I think about for everyone. And a little bit about me. Went to school at Providence College. Any Providence College alum? Awesome. Any grandkids Providence College alum? All right. Go Friars. My wife and I both went there. lived in Providence. I worked for a company called Textron, aerospace and defense. After, so a little bit different than home care and senior care. But when my dad started Touching Hearts, I was a brochure folder. I was a caregiver. I helped out on college breaks. I moved his office. I've been involved in this since day one and always wanted to get back involved. So 2017, they say, hey, my dad and uncle say, hey, you want to open up an office in Syracuse? So open up an office in Syracuse. Year and a half later, they say, hey, do you want to open up an office in Albany? So shout out to Schenectady back there. So we own another office in Albany. And then September of 2021, my wife and I opened up here in Boston. So she's from Norwood. I know it's kind of the enemy to some degree in Walpole, but so she's in, yeah. So she's from Norwood, multiple generations in Norwood too. Last name's Maggio. Mother's maiden name is Fleury. So I don't know if you know any of them, but so that's kind of our story. So even though we're a little bit new to this area, I've been doing this for about 6 years. And if you want to go back to 2007, I've been caregiving since 2007. So anyways, that's not why I'm here today. So we'll talk about blue zones. Really quick, just a little bit about the research. Life expectancy of an American born today, this is a couple years old, by the way, 78.2 years. But this year, over 70,000 Americans have reached their 100th birthday. What are they doing that the average American isn't? To answer this question, they teamed up with National Geographic. So it's a whole study. So they studied all these 70,000 people and what did they have in common. So we knew the answers lie within their lifestyle and environment. Then we worked with a team of demographers to find pockets of people around the world with the highest life expectancy or with the highest proportions of people who reach age 100. So that's a little bit about the research. I'm going to just show a short video. It's probably 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'll launch into the presentation here. So give me 1 second. And if the sound doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. Can you guys hear that okay?
Blue zones are places around the world where people live the longest, healthiest lives, oftentimes to 100 years or even older. Over the past few years, myself, Dan Buetner, and a group of world-renowned experts from National Geographic, universities, and medical institutions put together the Blue Zones Expedition Team. We've journeyed to these longevity hotspots to identify threads in lifestyles, diet, outlook, and stress coping mechanisms of some of the world's oldest, healthiest people. We wanted to find out what these people were doing in order to gain these extra healthy years. Our first Blue Zone visit took us to the island of Sardinia, about 125 miles off the coast of Italy. For 4 weeks, I led an expedition up to the mountainous Nuoro province. We used a method developed by scientists at the National Institute on Aging to interview 20 centenarians, mostly men, since Sardinia has the most male centenarians than any place else in the world. We studied how these men shed stress, how they interacted, what their religion was, how medicine played into it. We wanted to shed some light on how they lived to be so old and healthy, perhaps learn from some of their lessons. The person who most exemplified the Blue Zone centenarians was a man named Tonino Tola. This is a guy who loved to walk. Each day he walked between 5 and 7 miles, mostly tending sheep, but also visiting his friends and his family. Like most Sardinians, he also loved his wine. He drank small amounts of it all day long, a little bit during the morning, at lunch, and then again when he met with his friends at day's end. Sardinian Continental wine, as it turns out, has the highest level of polyphenols in the world. Tonino also ate largely a plant-based diet, except on Sundays when he ate a little bit of meat. Most importantly, he loved his family. Everything he did was for them. And now they help take care of Tonino. As we recently learned, people who live in strong families live 2 to 4 years longer than people who don't. Our next stop was Loma Linda, California, about 70 miles east of Los Angeles in the San Bernardino Valley. Loma Linda is more of a cultural blue zone than it is a geographic one. It's home to the greatest concentration of Seventh-day Adventists in the world. We know that Adventist women who most strictly follow the recommendations of their church live about 8 years longer than their American counterparts. And men live almost 11 years longer. Their diet is taken directly out of the Bible. Genesis chapter 1. They avoid meat, eat mostly plant-based foods like nuts, soy, whole grain, and wheats. They avoid alcohol and tobacco, so they're not big partiers, but it's working for them. Every week they have a 24-hour period between sundown Friday and sundown Saturday. They call it sort of a sanctuarian time. It's their Sabbath. During this time, they focus on their God, on their family, and they take long walks through nature. One of my favorite Adventists was a 93-year-old multi-millionaire named Ellsworth Wareham. When Ellsworth wanted to build a fence in his backyard, the contractor quoted him $5,000. He said, well, for that price, I'll just do it myself. So he went out there with shovels, concrete, heavy poles, and for the next 2 days labored away. On the third day, he ended up in the hospital, but not as the patient, but as the surgeon, doing open heart surgery. And then there's my favorite, Marge Justn, who at 101 starts her day riding her bike and pumping iron. She then gets into her 1994 Cadillac Seville, where she barrels down the San Bernardino Freeway. She volunteers for 7 different organizations, including a senior citizen daycare center where most of the residents are 30 years younger than she is. Now that's vitality. We found the world's longevity all-stars 800 miles south of Tokyo on the island of Okinawa, specifically a tiny peninsula called Motobu. This is the area that has the highest disability-free life expectancy in the world. In other words, these people enjoy the longest, healthiest lives of anybody else. Here, there are 5 times as many centenarians than we have in the U.S. They live an average of 7 years longer than Americans, and they suffer about 1/5 the rate of the cancers that kill us and have 1/6 the rate of cardiovascular disease. These are people who have something to teach us. Why? Well, to start with, Okinawans eat a plant-based diet, including about 8 times the amount of tofu that we do. Tofu hasn't gained popularity in America, but is arguably the world's most perfect food. Several studies suggest that eating the right amount and the right kinds of tofu can reduce your chances of getting cancer and heart disease. It may even help women's skin look younger. And then there's this thing Okinawans call hara hachi bu, which is an adage that reminds them to push themselves away from the table when their stomachs are 80% full. If Americans could just stop eating when their stomachs were 80% full, we would lose an average of 17 pounds apiece every year. Next, we have this notion of ikigai. In America, we tend to divide our lives into 2 phases. We have the work phase and then the retirement phase. But in Okinawa, there's only 1 phase. They don't even have a word for retirement. Ikigai means the reason for which I wake up in the morning. And this notion imbues their entire life. It's this sense of purpose that I believe helps propel people past their 100th birthday with vigor and vitality. My favorite centenarian in Okinawa is an absolute legend. She's 104-year-old Ushi Okashima. She just got a job 2 years ago working at a roadside market where she's really a celebrity figure. She wakes up every day, prepares her own food. At noon, she lunches with her children. She may head out into her garden for a couple hours. At 5 o'clock, her friends come over. They share a little bit of sake wine, catch up on the village gossip. And then she's in bed at 9 o'clock every night. Time spent with Ushi, even if it's just a few moments, is absolutely magical. She possesses a calmness and a wisdom that is truly inspiring. From our experiences with centenarians, the Blue Zone...
I don't want this guy stealing all my thunder. He's about to tell you all the secrets. All right. So just to give some background, so those are just 3 of the spots. Actually, I ended up studying 5. So we'll get into a little bit more detail on what each of those places is unique about each of them. And so we'll talk about Nicoya in Costa Rica, and then Ikaria, which is in Greece as well. So Sardinia, Loma Linda, and Okinawa, those are the 5 places that they did a deep dive study on. So, and then we'll talk about, we'll go into each of those places, and then we'll talk about what are the overlaps. And I think as we go through, you'll kind of have a pretty good idea of what they all have in common if the video didn't give you a little info. So, you know what? We'll skip this one. I just read off that whole slide. So this is Sardinia. So again, little off the mainland of Italy here, not quite in Sicily. So very mountainous, very hilly, rocky. And a lot of the, like you mentioned, the guy mentioned in the video, a lot of the men have a background of being shepherds. It's a very popular occupation there. So obviously warm climate as well, but some other things. So what were the lessons learned from Sardinia? Eat a lean plant-based diet accented with meat. So most of the Sardinians eat whole grain bread, beans, garden vegetables, fruit, pecorino cheese, which is made from grass-fed sheep, which is very high in omega-3 acids. They don't eat a lot of meat. Meat is kind of reserved for special occasions, and for a lot of the shepherds, it's more like when they have enough money to buy meat, which was always interesting to me. Like, it's like eat it when needed, and most of the time it might be fish, it could be pork, it could be chicken, but it's very rarely red meat, which is also interesting. Putting family first and celebrating elders. Sardinians make sure every family member is properly cared for. Grandparents provide love, childcare, financial help, wisdom, and expectations to push children to succeed. So the grandparents are very, very involved. And for a lot of them, their great-grandparents are very involved in their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives and their great-grandchildren's lives. And so they really like live with them. They move in with them, or they have their parents live with the kids. So there's that constant care involved. And then there's the support that the centenarians provide as well. Goat's milk. That was a big thing. A lot of these shepherds drink a lot of goat's milk, which is much better for you than just a regular, whole milk, cow's milk. Contains components that help protect against inflammatory diseases like heart disease and Alzheimer's. So that's an interesting thing. And they just drink that instead of milk most of the time. So take a walk. You kind of heard in that video, Sardinian shepherds walk up to between 5 and 7 miles per day on average. So that's a lot. So you get that cardiovascular health. You're using your muscles. You're obviously drinking a lot of goat's milk as well. Denser bones, stronger muscles, moving more flexible. And it's also one of the things that's not mentioned on this slide, but is part of the book, is it's built into their daily life. I mean, they're working and walking all the time. It's not like they have to go out of their way to walk. They don't have cars as much. Like, they're walking to the market every day. So it's built into how they live their life, which is it's a pretty common theme among all of these groups. And this is maybe one of my favorites. Drink a glass or two of red wine every day. How about that? I mean, how about that for some health advice? So this, I can't, Cannonau, there's a specific type of grape that only is grown in Sardinia. And this kind of grape has a redder pigment that protects it from UV rays. And as a result, they end up having 2 to 3 more times the level of an artery scrubbing flavonoid than other wines. So if you're just drinking a Pinot Noir or Cabernet or any other Italian wine, this is going to have 2 to 3 times higher level of an artery scrubbing flavonoid. And it's specific to Sardinia. So you go down to wherever you buy your wine, if you can find something from Sardinia. I don't know how it tastes. I've actually never tried it, but a little bit healthier for you. And it's also in moderation, like anything. It's not like they're drinking. I mean, that guy, I think he was drinking wine all day long. It sounded like in the video, which is true when you read the book, but it's like water for him. He's just drinking it small amounts throughout the day and always in moderation. So that was interesting. So that's a little bit about Sardinia. Okinawa, right? I already kind of talked about that. Has anyone been to Okinawa before? Awesome. Island off of Japan, and very warm climate as well. And I've never been. Would love to go, though. And it's kind of tucked away down here. So you see Tokyo, and then you see Okinawa way down in the south. All right. Ikigai, I think, is the word. And it's the reason they get up in the morning. I think it's like, what is your purpose? A lot of the Okinawans have, like, the woman who's working, right? She's getting up in the morning. She also tended to her garden. She goes to work. She has purpose and a friend group. And so that's their kind of purpose-driven life, clear role and responsibilities and feeling needed. Staying active. Older Okinawans are active walkers and gardeners. They have very little furniture, and they take meals and relax in mats on the floor. So just if you think about that, how many times you're sitting on the floor and getting up off the floor how much muscle you're building or maintaining if you're doing that all or multiple times a day, every single day. I kind of grunt as I'm like getting up out of a chair, right? So you have these centenarians in Okinawa that are getting up and down off the floor on mats every day. So it's going to build body strength and balance. Enjoying the sunshine, vitamin D. And, when you get vitamin D on a regular basis, it's going to promote stronger bones and healthier bodies. So plant-based diet, very similar to Sardinia. You'll kind of see this develop as a common theme. A lot of stir-fried vegetables, sweet potatoes, tofu, you saw that mentioned. Very high in nutrients and low in calories. Goya specifically has antioxidants and compounds that lower blood sugar. Meat, very similar to Sardinia, only eaten on very rare occasions, and if it is, most of the time it's pork, which is also interesting. So again, a lot of plants, a lot of vegetables, a lot of beans, and don't eat that much meat. Eat more soy. Kind of mentioned that, but flavonoids in tofu and miso soup protect the heart and guard against breast cancer. Fermented soy can contribute to a healthy, just basically gut health, right? You probably heard a lot, if you're involved in the health world, gut health is more important, but really important. Probiotics, prebiotics. Get gardening. A lot of the Okinawans have gardens and they tend to them all year round. And if you think the ways you've got to bend over and reach up and gets you out moving, gets you out in the sun. And also a lot of Okinawans have specifically a medicinal garden. So a lot of the plants and herbs they're growing have medicinal purposes. They also talk a lot about the gardening reducing stress. One of the big things too is mugwort, ginger, and turmeric are all staples of an Okinawan garden and have medicinal qualities. So it's really good for your digestive system. Maintain a moai, which is a meeting for a common purpose. And what that, a lot of that is, it's a group of 5 friends. So basically consider it your social circle, but it's a really tight-knit social circle. And the more you read about it in the book, it's a lot. They support each other if there's ever the passing of a family member, or if any of them are ever sick, the other 4 are really supporting them, or 4 or 5, or however many it ends up being. But a small group of people that really, really support each other. But if there's nothing to support, it's a social group, and they're just really, really tight-knit. And can even help for financial support at times too. And then they have an attitude, which I don't know too much about this. I can't remember, but hardship-tempered attitude has endowed Okinawans with an affable smugness. So I guess, they've got a little bit of pep to them. So, all right, we'll keep going on here. Loma Linda, again, I know we just kind of saw this in the video, but Loma Linda specifically, sorry, I backtracked from there. Again, mountainous, another kind of mountainous area of California. It's about 70 miles east of Los Angeles. Give you a barometer on where it is. Seventh-day Adventists, there's a huge population of them specific to this town in California. And so it's more of a study, not so much on Loma Linda as a town. It's more about Seventh-day Adventists. But find a sanctuary and time, a weekly breakaway. So they have a 24-hour Sabbath every Sunday. It's just kind of very... don't do anything, right? Very low-key, focus on family, God, camaraderie, and nature. So very low-key day. Spend time with like-minded friends. I think, spending time with people who share their values and similar habits. So they're spending a lot of time with other Seventh-day Adventists that align with their values and what they like. Maintaining a healthy body mass index, BMI, familiar with that term? So they do that by staying active and eating a plant-based diet, mostly with minimal meat, low blood pressure, low cholesterol, less cardiovascular disease than Americans with heavy body mass index. So you probably have heard your doctors talk about this, but obviously you want that number to be lower, and it leads to just fewer challenges. Get regular, moderate exercise, again, feeding off of that BMI piece, but low intensity exercise reduces your chance of having heart disease and certain cancers. I think a lot of Seventh-day Adventists are very exercise focused. They exercise daily, cardio, stretching, everything. You saw the guys swimming. They're very active people. Give something back. A lot of Seventh-day Adventists look for volunteer opportunities, helps them stay active, and then gives them a sense of purpose. So just like the group from Okinawa, that sense of purpose is really, really important. Eating meat in moderation, we've kind of mentioned that. Eat a light early dinner. So that was interesting. A light dinner early in the evening avoids flooding the body with calories during the inactive parts of the day. promotes better sleep and lower BMI. So I've actually kind of started doing this mainly because my 3.5-year-old and 2-year-old eat earlier, but I try to eat, around 5 o'clock now. And it makes sense. Like as your body's trying to wind down for the day, if you eat dinner at 8 o'clock and then you try going to sleep, you've got all these calories and extra energy, and it just kind of makes sense. So they're eating early and light and trying to save their meals for the times where they're trying to have the most energy throughout the day. Just kind of makes a lot of sense. You guys saw the nuts back here. I brought those in, kind of went along with my presentation, specifically almonds, but a lot of the Seventh-day Adventists snack on nuts, eat more fruits and vegetables, plants, and not a lot of meat, and they snack on nuts. Let's see. Where am I here? So Adventists consume nuts 5 times per week and have half the risk of heart disease and live 2 years longer than people who don't. So almonds specifically, very high in omega-3s, can also help keep weight on, I think peanuts especially. But, it's just one of those things. If you're trying to keep weight on, nuts and also give you a lot of energy, specifically almonds as well. So, and then drink plenty of water. 5 to 6 glasses of water substantially reduces the risk of a fatal heart attack. Obvious thing. I don't drink enough water. A lot of people don't. I have, there are times where I might have 2 cups of coffee in the morning and a cup of coffee in the afternoon. And that may be all I drink throughout the day. And then I'm wondering why I'm tired, right? Or why I just don't feel great. So drinking water and just every 5 to 6 cups a day, very important. So, okay, that's Loma Linda. All right, you guys already kind of heard about all those. So we'll go to Costa Rica. So I went on my honeymoon here. This is great. Nicoya, a plan de vida. Again, sense of purpose, feel a need and want to contribute to the greater good. Again, that's the 3rd or 4th time you've heard that sense of purpose. Embrace a common history. I guess this group specifically just kind of has a stress-free lifestyle. Time is very fluid, and they really stick to their traditional diets of maize, beans, which is a good nutrient combination. But again, very similar to just what their culture has historically eaten. Keep focus on family. Nicoyan centenarians tend to live with their families. Children and grandchildren provide a sense of purpose and support. Maintain a social network. They get a lot of visits from neighbors. Again, similar to that Moai and Okinawa, very strong social groups here as well. This was an interesting thing, and I don't know if you can recreate this in Walpole, but hard water. You guys familiar with what hard water means? Like there's just, I think it's more calcium if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, higher calcium content is where you get those white rings around, which you really don't want in your house. But in this part of Costa Rica, it's actually just part of the water that they drink has a higher level of calcium, and they just drink it, have been drinking it their whole lives. So they just tend to have stronger bones naturally just from drinking the water that they drink. Again, eating a light dinner, eating fewer calories in the evening. Hard at work. A lot of Nicoyans still actively have jobs, and a lot more physical work. And then get some sensible sun. Okinawa, again, same thing with the vitamin D. Costa Rica, they're out in the sun a lot, constantly working outside. So I'm going through these a little quicker because you're starting to see some of the common themes that are coming through here. Icaria in Greece. Anyone ever been to Greece? Anyone been to the islands? Anyone been to Icaria? Wow, all right, very cool. So again, another kind of mountainous region here, kind of starting, and even that part of Costa Rica, another mountainous, hilly area where people are walking a lot, walking up and down hills, getting good cardio in, but it's also another sunshine. There's not a lot in the Northeast up here, not people that, have to deal with winter, 4 months out of the year. There's people that have a lot of sunshine. Make family and friends a priority. That's a big part of what they do. Again, we've talked about that. Social networks, family, having that sense of purpose. Mimic mountain living involves mindlessly exercising as part of their day. So a lot of the people that live and work here, they are walking all day long, up and down hills. You see the mountains. That's just, again, built into their daily routine. Drink goat's milk. We already heard about goat's milk. Great source of potassium, calcium, and a stress-reducing hormone, tryptophan. I don't know. It also helps gut health, easier to digest than regular cow's milk. Eat a Mediterranean-style diet. Again, lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, potatoes, and olive oil. A lot of people cook with olive oil, not butter. I mean, that's another big part. If you read the book, olive oil is a big part of this. Not a whole lot of meat. Same thing. I mean, maybe some fish here and there, but for the most part, plant-based. Stock up on herbal. Karians drink a lot of herbal teas and have a lot of antioxidants with rosemary, sage, and oregano teas. They're also natural diuretics that keep your blood pressure in check. Take a nap, mid-afternoon break, a little siesta. Can't hurt anyone. So you definitely can pick and choose the advice that you like the red wine and the naps. Like I can get on board with that. It seems very, very doable to me. People who nap regularly have a 35% lower chance of dying from heart disease. So twist my arm. And then fasting occasionally. It says they fast for half of the year. It's not like they go 6 months without eating, but they're fasting for day on, day off, or they might go periods of time where they fast for a few days. It's more built into there's a religious reason. I can't remember why off the top of my head, but there's a reason that they fast. And so can be healthy. Even if you hear of intermittent fasting, right? People will eat between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. and the rest of the time of the day that they're fasting, showing to be a very healthy thing to do. Depending on your age, that the amount of time you fast can be different. So I'm not a doctor, so don't talk to your doctors. Don't take my word for it. So how do we live longer, right? So what are some of the things we can do here? I'm going to skip that slide just to show you, but move naturally. The longest lived people in the world don't pump iron, run marathons, or join gyms. Instead, they live in environments that constantly nudge them into moving without having to think about it. They grow gardens and don't have mechanical conveniences for house and yard work. So again, we talked about just how walking movement is built into their daily routines. They're not joining a gym. They're not having to force themselves to get out to go for a walk. They're just doing it because they got to get to work, or they have to go down the street to visit a friend. They walk. So always find that interesting. Purpose. Okinawans called it ikigai, I believe. Ikigai. And Nicoyans called it the plan de vida. Both mean why I wake up in the morning. Knowing your sense of purpose is worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. Downshift. Everyone experiences stress, even people in these blue zones, but stress leads to chronic inflammation associated with every major age-related disease. What the world's longest lived people have that we don't are routines that shed that stress, whether it's meeting with friends, whether it's gardening, whether it's exercising, or Seventh-day Adventists, just having Sundays to unwind. So all those things can really, Adventists pray, Akarians take a nap, Sardinians do happy hour. I didn't mention that, but happy hour is a big part of it. The 80% rule, hara ichibu, is the Okinawans call. That's when you're eating until you're about 80% full. There's so many times that I'm eating a meal that's really good, and I was full 20 minutes ago, and I'm still eating because it's so good, right? A lot of times, you eat until you're feeling 80% full, and then you're done. So it's an interesting philosophy, but if it just stops you from overeating. So anyways, the 2,500-year-old Confucian mantra said before the meals, remind them to stop eating when their stomachs are 80% full. The 20% gap between being hungry and feeling full could be the difference between losing weight or gaining it. People in blue zones eat their smallest meal in the late afternoon or early evening, and they don't eat anymore the rest of the day. Plant slant. Beans, flava beans, black beans, soybeans, lentils are the cornerstone of most centenarian diet. Meat, mostly pork, is eaten on average only 5 times per month. So serving sizes, about 3 to 4 ounces, about the size of a deck of cards or maybe the palm of your hand, is a good serving size for me. So that the porterhouse steak, the T-bone, probably a little too big. And again, a lot of pork, fish, chicken. It's not a lot of red meat, even if they're eating it. Wine at 5, we can all get on board with this one. People in the blue zones, except Seventh-day Adventists, they do not drink alcohol, but they drink moderately and regularly. Moderate drinkers outlive non-drinkers. The trick is drink 1 to 2 glasses per day, per preferably the Sardinian wine, right, which has that artery scrubbing flavonoid in there, with friends or with food. And no, that says you can't save up all week and have 14 drinks on Saturday, right? Which we some of you may have done before, right? I'm not saying I have, I'm not saying I haven't. Belong, like more of all but 5 of the 263 centenarians interviewed belong to some faith-based community. Denomination didn't seem to matter. Research shows that attending faith-based services 45 times per month will add 4 to 14 years of life expectancy. Again, I think that comes back to that sense of purpose as well, but a lot of them have religious ties. Whatever their religion is, just having that tie-in was really important. Loved ones first. Again, successful centenarians in the blue zones put their families first. It means keeping aging parents and grandparents nearby or in the home. They commit to a life partner and invest in their children with time and love. So, just a thought. And right tribe. The world's longest lived people choose or were born into social circles that supported healthy behaviors. Okinawans called Moai's group of 5 friends that committed to each other for life. Research from the Framingham study show that smoking, obesity, happiness, and even loneliness are contagious. So the social networks of long-lived people have favorably shaped their health behaviors. Again, being around like-minded people or people that give you energy and not drain energy or add stress from you, those are the people you want to be around. And you want to spend a lot of time with them, maybe over a happy hour, your call. I think that's really all I got for you. This is the author, Dan Buetner. To make it to age 100, you have to have won the genetic lottery, but most of us have the capacity to make it well into our early 90s and largely without chronic disease. The Adventists demonstrate, the average person's life expectancy could be increased by 10 to 12 years by adopting a Blue Zones lifestyle. So I think that's really all I got for you. I'm going to switch sides. I hope you guys found this helpful. Again, it's only the Cliff Note version of the book. There's a lot more detail in there. There's a whole Blue Zones recipe cookbook. There's all kinds of different things that you can dive deeper on this stuff if you're interested in. I'm happy to talk to anyone a little bit more. Again, not quite the expert. I have read the book a couple of times, but I'm not perfect. All right. Still got a couple pounds I could lose and adopt more of these lifestyles too, but get moving, plant-based diets, sense of purpose, strong ties of family. Those are a lot of the common takeaways here. So, but again, Justn McDermot, Touching Hearts. This is our contact information, my email. We do have some brochures back there as well. I also have some business cards. But what questions do you guys have for me on the topic, on anything? How am I doing on time? Oh, good. Yes.
Could you give an example of how your organization would help a group of people? What is the process?
Oh, yeah. So the question was, how does Touching Hearts help people? So we go into clients' homes and do things like housekeeping, meal prep, transportation to appointments, a lot of safety oversight for, people living with dementia, Alzheimer's, or if someone needs help with a shower, or if someone's incontinent and needs help getting cleaned up. Those are all the things we can do. A lot of safety oversight in those regards. And then just helping people do the things around their home that maybe they're having a harder time keeping up with than they used to. And then again, transportation to appointments or outings. If you wanted to go somewhere, had an event, or just wanted to get out of the house for something, we can help with that. So if you know anyone who could be interested or would have that need, please send them our way. And the way we would come in, we'd come in and do an intake where we meet with the client and their families and try to get a better understanding of what the routine is, what the needs are. That way we can prepare our staff and our caregivers, put the whole care plan together, and we also introduce them on the first shift. So we're not just giving someone an address and saying, good luck, see you later. We're going to introduce them and make sure there's a smooth transition. Yeah.
Also, do you find that now with the crunch for housing for people that are aging out of their homes and not able to stay in their homes, that the shift has been towards an organization like your own? And what is the, I guess the best way to say it is, Can you tell us what, if more people are aging at home because of this, and how's that working?
Yeah. So the question is like, have we noticed any change in people wanting to stay home longer because of the housing crunch? I think COVID also drove a lot of people to want to stay home longer rather than move into communities. And we work with clients both at home and in the communities. There's some really great ones here in Walpole, like New Pond Village is an awesome community. But that's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to be in a community. Some people want to stay home, and that's our goal, is to help people do that. And especially if there is a housing crunch and it's harder to find, living options in communities, like we can definitely help people stay home. And we've also seen, we actually have a lot of clients that have been adding additions onto their kids' homes and living with them. That seems to be a common trend, especially around here in Boston, more so than Albany and Syracuse. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but we definitely, we have a good balance. I'd say most of our clients are home and want to stay home, and we have some that are in communities, and we support them there as well. So yeah, who goes to you first?
My grandmother, my grandparents, we were brought up on the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't eat meat.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe twice a week if I'm lucky.
Yep.
Sometimes once.
Yep.
Beans and chickpea beans and
Yep.
lentils and stuff.
Yep.
Grew up on. I love it.
Yep. Very good. That's the way to live. There you go.
I don't because I fall asleep.
Any insurances other than long-term care? Or is it
Yeah.
all private?
Good question. The question is, do we accept any insurances? We do not. It's private pay or long-term care insurance. And just to give you I feel like the next question will be about what our rates are. So I'll just jump to that. So it's $38 an hour during the week and then $42 on the weekends. And then again, a lot of our clients do have long-term care insurance that we can participate in as well. And a lot of those policies you have to pay out of pocket for between 60 or 90 days or 100 days, and then the policy starts reimbursing. So yeah. What else? Yeah.
You mentioned a book, do you have that?
I don't. I was actually thinking I forgot to bring the book, but you can buy it online. It's just called Blue Zones. If you look that up, you'll find it. So yeah, I don't have it. And if I did, it's all highlighted and underlined and bookmarked and all that. So yeah, I'm sorry, I've totally forgot. I brought a different book, but it's not this one. Yeah. Oh yeah. Barnes and Noble will definitely carry this. Amazon, or if you buy books online, I don't know. I'm sure there's other local bookstores that will carry it too. Yeah, in the back.
How much interference, for lack of a better word, does additives, preservatives, non-GMO, et cetera, affect longevity?
It's a good question. I don't know it specifically. I guess like one of the thoughts though is like it's not great, right? I think a lot of the people living in these communities grow their own gardens. Like they're eating stuff that is local to their island or their region, and there is just not a lot. A lot of them have organic or just fully homegrown operations. So I think in general it's just not great if you can avoid it, but kind of hard. I feel like it's harder to do around here sometimes. Yeah.
Not healthier food costs more.
Correct. Just backwards, right?
Those of us that are of a certain age don't have the availability as somebody else.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's backwards, right? That organic, natural food or whole grains and all that stuff is more expensive than the ultra processed food. It's backwards. I write your local congressman or senator because I don't have an answer for you on that one. But again, I think a lot of the stuff is natural, organic food is really important long term. But I wish I don't have an answer for you. Unfortunately, it's a very good point. I will say that, and I fully agree with you. Yeah.
How do prepared products, food products, interface with you have a company that might, or know of a company that might create a diet relevant to the material in this book? And, do you get involved with that type of thing?
So our caregivers could come and make meals, right? If someone has a cookbook or a recipe they want to follow, we can definitely come in and make that meal. I don't know if there are I know there are like home delivery services where maybe they're more health focused, or there are different types of ingredients or a specific kind of diet. Just like anything, there's a range. There's probably the cheaper services, and there's the frozen meals like a Stouffer's, which, not knocking Stouffer's. There's some good Stouffer's lasagna is one of my favorite things. But, I think there are some healthier choices on that home delivery option or the frozen meals front that maybe aligns better with a Blue Zones versus, something that's more ultra processed, kind of getting back into the additives and all that. Does that answer your question at all?
Well, actually, I'm asking if you as a company, would you look into that type of thing to create something for an individual that may need a specific type of diet?
Yeah, no, we definitely would. Like, we don't offer that as like a service to our company, as like, hey, we're offering, home delivered meals. You need like a commercial kitchen and all that. But, if someone came in and had a special diet that they wanted our caregivers to follow that in their meal prep, absolutely, 100%. A lot of our caregivers, clients have cookbooks, or they might be on a low sodium diet, or, whatever it could be. We will tailor that I shouldn't say meal plan, but, we're going to tailor your meals to what you want or what the diet restrictions are. So, yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Will your caregivers live in the home? Or
Yeah.
are they strictly like on an hourly basis?
Yeah. So the question is, do we have caregivers that live in the home? We don't do like live-in care, but we do have 24/7 care, which is a little bit different, where people are there around the clock, but might come in shifts. Yeah, we don't do live-ins at the moment, although it is something we're going to be doing soon. Because live-in care at home is much more affordable than having someone 24/7 on an hourly rate. So something we're exploring, going to be rolling out soon. So yeah, good question. What else you got? These are good questions. Yeah.
It sounds like all these elements that you talked about, which are very excellent, are part of a holistic approach. Did any of these communities have access to medical facilities or doctors getting regular checkups, for example?
Like in the Blue Zones? Right. It's a good question. I know in Loma Linda, there's like a hospital associated with the university there in California. I don't know as much about the other communities. I would think yes, especially in Okinawa. I feel like it's kind of a developed area where they probably can. Sardinia, I don't think so as much, just given like the demographics of it all. But I think a lot of it is like they are, as a result of their lifestyle, they have fewer medical needs to address, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but I know in California and in Okinawa, I think they do have access to pretty good care. Yeah.
Actually, the Loma Linda facility's been studied by the university or whatever, and I don't recall it. But
Yeah.
It's been featured on 60 Minutes.
Oh,
for a
cool.
couple
Okay.
of years.
Yeah.
They go back there, and some of the some of the residents are still alive.
Yeah.
It's really very
Yeah.
informative, and they have a physician that's in charge of the project.
Yep. And there's a 93-year-old heart surgeon, right, that's still doing that. So the point was Loma Linda was actually studied, like their hospital specifically has been studied. So I guess that partly answers your question. Yeah. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you guys so much. One thing I do have a bunch of bags. So if you want a bag, you can just raise your hand. I'll come around. But thank you so much for letting me present today. I had fun.
Very good.
Hope you learned something.